Welcome to Global Dispatches, a podcast for the foreign policy and global development communities and anyone who wants a deeper understanding of what is driving events in the world today. I'm your host, Mark Leon Goldberg, editor of UN Dispatch. Enjoy the show. It was 7 p.m. Ukraine time on the evening of Friday, February 25th, when I caught up with my guest today, journalist Catia Bruno. She had recently arrived in Lviv, a city in western Ukraine, not far from the Polish border. She was there to report and bear witness to the growing refugee and displacement crisis caused by the Russian attack on Ukraine, which began 3 days prior. By the time you listen to this episode, the situation on the ground in Ukraine and internationally will certainly have changed from the time that Catia Bruno and I spoke. Still, this conversation provides a valuable and frankly heart-wrenching perspective on the choices facing Ukrainians as many seek to leave the country while others are forced to remain. The UN Refugee Agency has already reported 50,000 people fleeing from Ukraine to neighboring countries, mostly Poland and Moldova. This number will likely increase dramatically, and many are expecting the worst refugee crisis in Europe since the Second World War. And I am profoundly thankful to Catia Bruno for speaking with me from Ukraine at the start of this crisis. This is obviously very disturbing, disorienting, and dangerous times that we are all living in now because of this Russian attack on Ukraine. I'm hearing from many of you how it's affecting you, either emotionally or personally. Just know that you are not alone, and I personally will do my best to keep you informed and updated and give you the perspective you need to better understand this crisis as it unfolds in the coming days and weeks and months. And do feel free to reach out at any time. You can hit me up on Twitter at Mark L. Goldberg or email me using the contact button on globaldispatchespodcast.com. All right, now here is my conversation with Catia Bruno, live from Lviv, Ukraine.
Hi, Mark. You're reaching me in Lviv. I'm in Lviv right now, currently in the hotel lobby. We've been out reporting during the day, me and my colleague, who's a photojournalist. I will introduce myself first, of course. My name is Catia Bruno. I'm a 31-year-old journalist. I write about foreign affairs for a digital Portuguese newspaper which is very much focused on long form. And we also have a radio service. So we are also trying to do 2 daily updates on the situation for our radio service.
You arrived in Lviv yesterday.
Yes.
Can you describe the scene yesterday, the last 24 hours since you've been in Lviv?
Yes. So we entered the border through Poland by car, and as soon as we left the border premises, we started to see the big line of cars waiting to cross to Poland. And this was miles and miles of cars just stopped by the side of the road waiting to move forward. And as we moved along, we've ran into a checkpoint that was being monitored by the Ukrainian army. And we got the feeling they were asking IDs for everyone. So we got the feeling that due to martial law, they were not allowing men to cross anymore. And so that meant that as when we got further and further into Lviv, sometimes we would find like one guy or a couple of guys walking back to Lviv. So I think that gives a real sense of how there are a lot of people trying to leave the city. Many from Lviv, but not only. People are coming from other parts of Ukraine to Lviv and then to try to get to Poland. And the situation is one where almost every man cannot go through, and so we end up with only women and children moving on to
So
Poland.
just to be clear, the Ukrainian military is preventing Ukrainian men of like fighting age, presumably, from
Yes,
leaving Ukraine.
yes, from 18-year-olds to 60-year-olds, due to martial law, they have to be on the country ready in case they are called to fight.
Hmm. Did you speak to any of those men, or have you encountered any of those men in your reporting yet?
I did talk to a couple today who were in the train station, waiting for the train to take their wives and their kids. One of them was still trying to reach the border and see if he can go through. The other one wasn't. He was ready to say goodbye to his wife and his 3 children, and stay here. And that was a particularly moving story because his wife was here in Lviv due to a work travel, and he was in Kiev with their children. And when the situation got crazy yesterday, he just hopped on the car and came to meet her here in Lviv. And then he let his wife and kids go to Poland, and he will stay and wait to be called for the front line, pretty much.
So the women and the children who are headed to Poland, and just to be clear, to situate listeners geographically, Lviv is not far from Poland. It's what,
No,
like
no, no, not at
if
all.
there's no traffic, it's what, like a
It's
half
less
hour,
than
45-minute drive.
no, it's a bit further away
Mm-hmm.
because you still have a bit of a distance between Lviv and the actual border, but it's pretty much a less than it's like one and a half hour tops
Mm-hmm.
if there is no traffic, which currently is a lot longer because the line of cars is just huge.
So the women and children that you spoke with who are headed to Lviv, or pardon me, who are headed to Poland from
Hmm.
Lviv, did they have like a plan? Do they have friends in Poland? Like, where do they intend to stay? Do they have any sort of idea of what their,
Hmm.
next 24, 48 hours will look like?
There are very different stories. Some people have family and friends who live in Poland and will meet them there. Others even have family and friends from outside Poland in other EU countries that will try to travel to Poland to meet them. Others are going completely on their own. Others are in a situation where they have no idea where they will be in the next 2 hours. They have all their belongings in 1, 2, 3 suitcases tops. They stress how they left their house, they left their cars, they left their parents, and they're just going with their children into complete uncertainty.
I know that you entered from Poland, headed to Lviv just yesterday, but do you have a sense at all of what the situation is at the border, like how Polish authorities are processing these refugees?
I haven't been able to see that side of the border, but from what I've been reading and contacting with other journalists who are around here, they tell me, and this is not only happening in Poland and in Romania as well. There is a lot of creative ways that people who live there are trying to implement to help the refugees that come. So we have improvised kitchens with hot meals. We have improvised beds where they can spend the night in a heated place. But I have no idea if there is enough capacity for the amount of people that is trying to cross right now. And I know the Polish government seems to be involved in that, and they seem to want to put up a system and to get refugees. But I don't know if the capacity right now is there to the amount of people who are trying to cross, because we are talking of real exodus, not just from Lviv, from the whole Ukraine, and then many people coming from Kiev in the last few days, who are doing a what used to be a 6 hour drive in 20 hours, 30 hours inside a car
Hmm.
to get to Lviv and to get to Poland.
So, can you sort of describe this? Lviv is of course, in western Ukraine. Has it come under direct attack yet?
we are not sure yet because as soon as we arrived, it was 4 a.m. last night. We heard a couple of sounds that looked like explosions far away, and then we heard the siren going off. Um, and then that the siren sound went on through the night sometimes. And today, during the day, we also heard sirens 2 times. The rumor, what people have been saying over here, is that there was an attack on military facilities outside of the city of Lviv, so in the region. But there are also reports online that tend to say that the Ukraine military was able to sustain attacks, air attacks. So the situation is very fluid. We don't know for sure, and I don't think anyone here knows for sure if Lviv is also under attack or if there were just attempts that failed, if it's a small minimum thing, or if it's just big confusion and so far there are no Russian troops trying to bomb Lviv. So everyone is quite scared. I think in the last like today was the first day over here that people really got scared, and because there was a feeling that Lviv, considering how close to the Polish border is, there was a feeling Lviv might be safer because it would be too close to a NATO border for Russia to attempt something. And with these sirens going on and with the uncertainty of what that means, I think people are becoming much more scared and waiting to see how it goes tonight. There was a curfew imposed for tonight. So after 10 p.m., no one can be outside. We will see what happens tonight. I think no one will sleep, probably.
Are there any sort of conversations you've had or things you've witnessed in your 24 hours in Lviv that are sort of illustrative of that kind of sense of fear and foreboding that you just described?
Yes, when we as reporters approach people, there is at first a big suspicion on who we are. If are we real journalists? What are we? What do we want from them? And then of course we show our IDs and our passports if needed, and people then tend to open up and be more relaxed. So there is a sense of distrust of stranger people that might approach them. I think people possibly think there might be connections either to Russian media or other types of Russian presence in the region. And then when people do trust you and realize you are a real journalist and end up talking with you, they start by being very calm, quiet, collected, but then in a few seconds after talking, they usually start to cry in very quickly, and they start to collapse emotionally quite quickly because they are definitely scared and either planning to leave or instead deciding that they will stay to fight whatever comes. And in that case, many people say things like being prepared to face whatever it might happen.
Have you encountered people who have decided, women and children, and not men, entire families, say, who have decided, have opted to stay as opposed to try to leave?
Not whole families, not yet. Met some men in that situation. I've met some women, single women in that situation. I mean, I spoke to a woman today who is from Kiev. She was here in Lvov also in a work trip and suddenly got stuck here. And she said, I will have to go back to Kiev because my whole family is there. My father is there. He's in a nursing home. There's no way he will get out. So I have to go back to his side. I won't go anywhere. It's just a matter of when will I be able to travel to Kiev. I will wait to see if things calm down and then get on and go there because it's my home. I'm not leaving my home.
Well, and I just have to imagine if you have so many people fleeing Kyiv headed to Lviv, then like just the amount of just humanity, just the number of people around Lviv must be sort of swelling at the moment. Where are people staying? Where are people sheltering?
Absolutely. When we arrived last night, we were trying to call frantically every single place we could stay. No one would have us. The city was completely booked, full, completely full. We just headed straight to a hotel, asked to spend the night in the lobby. That's what we did this night. Very, very kind manager let us in and gave us water, food, and told us we could sleep here on the couches. And so I think people are mainly improvising, and many people are trying to connect friends with their families and try to help see if people can host them, just to manage to spend the evening and then continue the trip tomorrow to the border. And I believe many people right now are sleeping in their own cars and at the border, just trying to get there.
And so, Katia, we're speaking I guess, a couple hours before that 10 p.m. curfew. What are your plans for reporting, in the coming days from Lviv? Do you plan to go elsewhere, if you're comfortable speaking about that?
We're completely doing it hour by hour to decide. We know for sure we will stay tonight here in Lviv. We plan on tomorrow on going to see the situation at the border, the land border, and then we are still waiting to see. We have a few meetings and interviews prearranged in the city tomorrow in the afternoon, and then we don't know yet. I mean, of course, the situation that is the most tragic right now is Kiev, but we believe it is too dangerous right now to go there. There's a risk we might even not get in, and if we do, there's a risk the city can be held for quite some time and no one will be able to leave. So we are still waiting to check if we're staying in Lviv, if we're visiting villages nearby. That's also a possibility. I know some people who are with their parents in nearby villages, so there might be a shot at going there. But we are really, really taking it hour by hour because the situation is very fluid. And I guess it really depends on this evening. If there are sirens going on and possible airstrikes, that's the situation. If that does not happen, then I think it means Lviv is quieter and calmer than we anticipate. So we have to wait and see.
Katia, is there anything else you'd want to add, and any points you'd want to make, questions I didn't ask that you'd want to address?
Well, one point I wanted to make is that a lot of the people I've talked to feel strongly, very strongly, let down by the West. There is a feeling that we've been warning you that Putin's Russia was a danger to our security. That's why we wanted to enter NATO. You didn't let us, but then you also didn't manage to protect us in other ways. And people feel very let down because they feel they have been held as pawns, and that the West has just let Ukraine fall.
Well, Katia, thank you so much for your time and for your reporting. I look forward to following your reporting for the next several days and throughout this crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, and keep up the good work, Mark.
All right. Thank you all for listening. Huge thank you to Catia Bruno for speaking with me on such short notice. We caught up on Twitter Spaces, and I took some questions from the audience afterwards, though she had to go and do her radio spot. I will continue to do these Twitter Spaces as events unfold in Ukraine and beyond. So please do join me at Mark L. Goldberg whenever you are able. Thanks, and we'll see you next time. Bye.